OK, we're going to talk Brexit and politics now. You'd probably rather that than talking about the rugby. Let's get the latest thoughts from the former Conservative Special Advisor, Mo Hussain, and former Labour Special Advisor, Ayesha Hazarika. There they are for us. Great to see you this afternoon. Thanks for being with us after another fascinating week in the world of politics and Brexit, of course. Mo, perhaps I can turn to you first. The official campaign, of course, doesn't start until the middle of next week, but it feels like it's begun very much already. The Prime Minister in election mode. His message very much seems to be, don't blame me for us not leaving on October the 31st. It wasn't my fault. Will voters be convinced by that, do you think?
I think some voters will be, yes. I think the team around him have done quite a good job in, pointing out that this was Parliament blocking him getting what he wanted. It's Parliament's letter that he sent unsigned to the EU. And I think the people who have already bought into Boris Johnson, and, arguably the campaign started much longer ago than a few days, will kind of have factored it all in and will be sticking with him. And you will also see him, as you have been, either in a school or in a hospital or with the police. These are the three main things that the Conservative Party will be pushing. So I think people will be looking at what else can happen, what else can he bring, and not really focusing that much on the fact that he did break his own promise of do or die. He said he would be dead in a ditch if we didn't leave by this date. We haven't, and he's still continuing. And I think a lot of people will give him some slack for that.
Do you think that's right, Ayesha? Do you think people will give him some slack, or do you think they'll carry on blaming him for the fact that we're still in the EU? Sophie Ridge from Sky News did get him to apologise. He did say sorry.
Yeah, he did say sorry. And remember, he sort of won his leadership off the back of the fact that he was going to be very different to Theresa May, and he's ended up in exactly the same position as her. The other thing that has made it very interesting and will provide a challenge to Boris Johnson is the entrance of Nigel Farage into the fray yesterday, saying, look, the Brexit that Boris Johnson has negotiated in the eyes of Nigel Farage, who you can argue is a sort of godfather of Brexit, he's saying this is Brexit in name only, this is not a hard enough Brexit. Just this morning, listening to phone-ins on radio stations, so many Brexit supporters ringing up saying, I'm not happy with this agreement because this sort of border in the Irish Sea is not what we were kind of thinking about. This is a complete sort of dereliction of what Brexit is about. The other thing is that the Conservatives do risk sort of having an attack from the Brexit Party on Brexit. They may well want to get things onto other issues, schools, hospitals, the police, as Mo said. But once you do that, you are putting, you're giving the Labour Party a bit of an advantage, because a lot of the cuts that have really beset these key public services have come from a Conservative government. We've had a Conservative Prime Minister for coming up to 10 years, and it's very difficult to blame Labour for that. Certainly in the last general election, 2017, those issues were coming up a lot, particularly cuts to the schools budget. So I think when they're on that territory, who is the public going to trust more on that? The Labour Party, who have always been very committed to that, or the Conservatives, who have cut? And the final point is a matter of trust. Yes, Boris Johnson has a huge base out there, I'm not denying that, but he is somebody who a lot of the public don't trust. And he's also got a big problem with female voters, and female voters are going to be very important in this general election.
OK. Mo, Ayesha brought up Nigel Farage there. It'd be interesting to get your thoughts. We know that Boris Johnson has ruled out a pact with Nigel Farage. Do you think he'll stick to that? And how do you think things will pan out if indeed Nigel Farage does field a candidate in every constituency?
Yeah, so the Prime Minister has ruled out this pact. And I think, on the face of it, that is quite dangerous for the Conservative Party. If Nigel Farage is presenting himself as the true defender of Brexit, and it's his definition of Brexit is the one that counts, and there will be some people who are taken by that approach. However, I think the calculation from the people around the Prime Minister has been very much that actually getting into bed with the Brexit Party is not going to be a good look for the Conservatives and will cost at the ballot box, because we have to remember the Prime Minister needs a functioning majority. So as well as appealing to the Brexit side, he also needs to appeal to the Remain voters who are also Conservative voters and defend seats against the SNP and against the Lib Dems. And by having an alliance with the Brexit Party, you do put paid to those votes. So it is very much, the previous Prime Minister, Theresa May, had the same thing. You're walking this political tightrope where you have to try and keep all sides of the party happy. And I think the advantage is that the ERG, the harder Brexiteers within the party, trust the Prime Minister more. They see him as one of them. If he's telling them this is the best deal we're going to get, they believe him more than they believe Theresa May. So I think that calculation has been made for the greater benefit of trying to secure more seats and win in places that you might be defending against the Remain side. It's not a good idea to kind of jump in with the Brexit party. And then we have to see how it will play out.
OK. I'm sorry we haven't got more time to discuss all this, but for now, Mo Hussain, former Conservative Special Advisor, Ayesha Hazarika, as always, former Labour Special Advisor. Thank you both.